In the winter of 406 AD, the Western Roman Empire was bleeding to death. Barbarians had breached the frozen Rhine River, the economy was in total collapse, and a thick, suffocating panic fouled the air of Rome. Yet, inside the imperial palace, one man sat entirely unmoved. His name was Flavius Stilicho, the master general of the Western world. He didn't scream at his subordinates. He didn't pace the floor in anxiety. While the politicians in the Senate collapsed into hysterical arguments, crying for salvation, Stilicho stood in total silence, watching the snow fall outside his window. When his panicked generals rushed into the room, demanding to know why he wasn't fighting the chaos with louder orders, he turned his head slowly, looked them in the eye, and said, "The storm does not change the direction of the mountain. It only reveals what is made of stone and what is made of dust." Stilicho understood a terrifying, beautiful truth about human nature that most people spend their entire lives trying to ignore. You do not get respected because you demand it. You get respected because you are emotionally expensive to move. Look around you today. Most personal development content tells you a comfortable, sweet lie. They tell you that you are overlooked because people are toxic, or because the world is inherently unfair, or because you haven't found the right people yet. Stoicism offers a much harsher, much more liberating truth. In 99% of cases, people treat you exactly how you have quietly, unconsciously, persistently trained them to treat you. Every time you laughed off a disrespectful joke to keep the peace, you taught them. Every time you over-explained a boundary because you felt guilty about saying no, you taught them. Every time you waited for permission to take up space in a room you were already standing in, you were the teacher and they were the students. They didn't steal your respect. You handed it over, one small concession at a time. But today, the lesson changes. We are going to break down 7 quiet behaviors used by history's most unshakable minds. From ancient Rome to the underground schools of samurai warriors, to completely rewrite how the world interacts with you. No shouting, no forced dominance, no toxic alpha male performance. Just pure, unaligned, psychological weight. If you stay until the very end, not because I am asking you to, but because your soul will refuse to let you leave, the way you walk into a room will change forever. Let's begin. Law 1. The law of the unbroken ledger. The ancient Stoics had a specific concept called assent, the absolute alignment between your internal mind and your external actions. But before anyone else in the outside world can agree with your worth, your own nervous system has to audit your private track record. Think about the hidden promises you made to yourself over the last 7 days. Promises whispered to yourself at midnight when no one was around. I'm gonna hit the gym at 5 a.m. I'm shutting off my phone to work on my business. I'm finally having that difficult conversation I've been avoiding for months. Nobody heard you say it. No one was there to watch you fail. So when you hit the snooze button 3 times, or when you scroll through mind-numbing content for another hour, you think there's no victim. You think it's a victimless crime. It isn't. The victim is your internal authority. Your brain is not a philosophical machine. It is a biological survival mechanism. Every single time you break a private promise to yourself, your nervous system logs it as self-betrayal. It registers evidence that you are an unreliable narrator. It realizes that your words have no actual financial backing. And here is the psychological trap that catches millions. You cannot fake high self-worth in public If your internal ledger is bankrupt in private, when you walk into a meeting, a job interview, or a date, you carry that internal bankruptcy in your posture, in the micro expressions of your eyes, and in the cadence of your voice. You speak with a slight hesitation. You look around the room looking for validation from others because you know deep down in your cellular memory that you cannot trust yourself to follow through. People smell this. They smell it the way an animal smells fear, and they adjust their behavior to exploit it. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Notice the order. He didn't say announce it to the world. He didn't say create a vision board or post it on social media. He said do it in silence. When you start keeping the invisible promises, the hard, painful, boring ones that no one will ever clap for, your internal architecture solidates. Your voice stops trailing off at the end of sentences. Your eyes stop looking for an exit. You stop looking for permission to exist because you have already earned that permission from the only judge that matters, yourself.
Law 2. The art of the absolute boundary. Let's look at a behavior that is quietly draining your respect like a slow leak in a tire. The over-explanation. Imagine a scenario. A colleague asks you to take on their project on a Friday afternoon, or a relative invites you to an event you have zero desire to attend. What does the average person do? They don't just say no. They launch into a defense script. "Oh, I'm so incredibly sorry. I really wish I could help, but my cousin is coming into town, and my car has been acting up, and I have this doctor's appointment, and I'm just so stressed out. I hope you're not mad at me." Listen closely to the frequency underneath those words. You think you are being polite. You think you are being nice. In reality, you are begging. You are saying, my boundary is invalid unless you look at my excuses and give me permission to say no. The Stoics called your faculty of choice prohoresis, the one thing in the entire universe that belongs completely to you and cannot be forced by any external king or empire. When you over-explain a simple decision, you are handing handles to the other person. You are inviting them to sit down at the table and negotiate your life. You are showing them that your boundaries come with a price tag of guilt, and if they push just a little bit harder, the boundary will dissolve.
High-value individuals do not negotiate their time. They protect it with the art of the absolute boundary. Next time you need to decline an offer, implement the 3-word rule. I can't make it. I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. And then, and this is where 90% of people fail, you must stop talking. Do not add a 4th sentence. Do not insert a nervous chuckle. Let the silence sit in the air like a heavy stone. Let the other person carry the discomfort of the boundary. When you refuse to defend your decisions, the world stops questioning them. A boundary without an explanation is a brick wall. A boundary with an explanation is just a suggestion. Law 3. The Ghost Protocol. There is a powerful lesson hidden in the historical archives of the Japanese samurai. A young, highly ambitious warrior noticed that his master had suddenly stopped inviting him to the private strategic council meetings. The master had gone completely cold, offering only short, distant nods in the hallway. Desperate to regain favor and terrified of losing his status, the young warrior began working twice as hard. He polished the master's armor without being asked. He bowed lower than anyone else, and he constantly cornered the master, asking, "Master, what did I do wrong? Tell me how I can fix it." The master ignored him for 3 weeks. Finally, when the young warrior broke down in tears, the master looked at him and said, "When a shadow shrinks, the light does not run after it to make it look bigger. The light simply shines somewhere else. By begging for my attention, you have proven that you do not deserve it." When a friend stops texting back,
when a partner pulls away emotionally, or when a professional circle excludes you, your modern dopamine-addicted instinct is to chase. You want to text again. You want to ask, "Are we good?" You want to fix the air. But chasing is a public declaration of low value. It sends a message directly to their ego. Your presence is worth more than my dignity. You hold the keys to my emotional stability. The Stoics built an entire lifestyle around ataraxia, the state of being completely untroubled by things outside your control, including the fickle opinions of other people. If someone chooses to create distance between themselves and you, let the distance widen. Do not stand on the shore waving your arms, begging them to come back. Let them walk. Do not text them to ask why. Do not demand an explanation. Closure is a modern myth invented by people who are too terrified to stand alone in the cold. Your closure is your absolute silence. By refusing to chase what withholds itself, you instantly reverse the gravity of the room. You are no longer the option trying to be picked. You become the independent standard.
Law 4. The vaulting of pain. Marcus Aurelius was not born a cold, unfeeling statue. If you read his deeply personal notes, you realize he was a man plagued by immense emotional suffering. He lost 8 of his children to disease. His closest general betrayed him in a coup. He suffered from chronic chest pains and ulcers. Yet, history remembers him as a wall of unyielding granite. How? Because every morning, before the sun rose, he practiced ascesis, voluntary hardship, and the deliberate meditation on discomfort. He didn't run from the friction of life. He lived in it intentionally. Look at how our modern society handles the slightest drop of discomfort. The second a room gets quiet or awkward, someone blurts out a stupid joke to break the ice. The moment we feel even a minor sting of loneliness, we pull out our smartphones to numb our brains with a hit of dopamine. We are a culture completely addicted to immediate emotional relief. And that is exactly why people are so easily manipulated. If you cannot tolerate a tense room, you can be controlled by anyone who can.
If a boss raises their voice, or a client tries to bully you, or a toxic person tries to make you feel small, and your immediate reaction is to flinch, get defensive, or start talking rapidly, you have handed them the remote control to your life. You have shown them your structural breaking point. The behavior that commands immediate subconscious respect from both friends and enemies is the ability to hold discomfort without flinching. When a crisis breaks out, or when someone tries to insult you, force your body to become the slowest moving thing in the environment. Speak 10% slower. Breathe exclusively through your nose. Look at the person directly in the eyes without anger, but without fear. When people see that your internal state cannot be bought or disturbed with a little bit of social pressure, they stop trying to pressure you. They realize you are simply too heavy to bend. Law 5. The severe receipt. Let's talk about a deeply insidious form of self-sabotage that most people mistake for a virtue, the shrinking reflex. Imagine this happens tomorrow. A senior partner walks up to you and says, "Hey, that project you managed was incredible. You completely turned this company around." What is your immediate, automatic response? "Oh, thank you, but honestly, it was mostly just luck. Sarah helped a lot with the data, and I actually messed up the presentation part in the beginning. Anyone could have done it." You think you are being modest. You think you are being a good team player. You aren't. You are committing intellectual suicide. You are literally telling the person standing in front of you that their high opinion of you is stupid and mistaken. You are rejecting their respect and telling them you don't belong on the platform they just built for you.
The Stoics believed in orthos logos, right reason. The discipline of seeing things exactly as they are, without arrogant inflation, but crucially, without insecure diminution.
If you put in the hours, if you stayed up late, if you took the risk and delivered the result, own the space you are standing in. Shrinking yourself down doesn't make you humble, it makes you small. And the world has a habit of stepping on small things. The next time someone hands you a genuine compliment or recognizes your competence, do not look at the floor. Do not deflect it to someone else. Do not balance it out with a self-deprecating joke to make them feel comfortable. Look them dead in the eyes, let a genuine, calm smile touch your face, and say 7 words. Thank you. I appreciate you noticing. And then stop. Let that recognition land on your skin. It takes immense internal security to let yourself be seen as successful without apologizing for your excellence. Law 6. The filtered mind. In the ancient Roman world, public executioners, torturers, and gladiators were treated with absolute disgust by the elite classes. Not because of the violence they carried out, but because they were viewed as total slaves to the emotional states of others. They had zero personal autonomy. They didn't choose their actions. They just reacted to the whistle of the stadium or the command of the politician. Every single time you lose your temper, every time you fire back an angry email within 30 seconds of reading it, every time you let someone's passive-aggressive remark under their breath ruin your entire evening, you are acting as their emotional slave. They pulled the string and you jumped on command. Epictetus taught his students a lesson that should be carved into the wall of every corporate office and modern home. Any person who is capable of angering you becomes your master. They can distort your reality whenever they choose. The ultimate status symbol in the modern world isn't a luxury car, a title, or a piece of jewelry. It is the size of the gap between stimulus and response. When someone insults you or tries to bait you into a useless argument, they are holding a burning piece of coal. They want you to grab it so you get burned. If you react instantly with anger, you are playing their game on their board with their rules. But if you simply pause, you remove the oxygen from their fire. The next time someone tries to provoke you, use the 5-second silence rule. When they finish speaking their insult, do absolutely nothing for 5 full seconds. Do not let your eyebrows twitch. Do not sigh. Do not roll your eyes. Just maintain calm, neutral eye contact and count to 5 in your head. In those 5 seconds, the entire power dynamic of the room reverses. The person who insulted you realizes their weapon didn't detonate. The silence becomes suffocating for them. They are left standing there holding their own raw ugliness, while you remain completely untouched. That is not weakness. That is absolute psychological dominance. Law 7. The Anonymous Foundation. We live in an era of hyper-performance, fake aesthetics, and constant validation hunting. People don't just read philosophy anymore. They take a photo of the book next to a cup of coffee for their social media story. People don't just build businesses. They update their LinkedIn bios before they've made a single dollar in profit. Everything is an audition. Everything is an appeal for the world's cheap applause. But anything built entirely for an audience collapses the very second the audience stops looking. The deepest, most permanent form of respect, the kind that survives across centuries, belongs exclusively to the individuals who build their character in the dark, where no one is watching. When Marcus Aurelius was writing the words that we now call meditations, he was the most powerful human being on the planet. He could have ordered stadiums to cheer his name. He could have executed anyone who looked at him wrong. He didn't need to prove his depth to a single soul. Yet every night, In a freezing military tent on the edges of the empire, he opened his journal. He wasn't writing for a publisher. He wasn't writing for history. He was writing to his own soul, lecturing himself on how to be a better man, how to overcome his own vanity, how to stay pure in a corrupt world. He died, and he never told anyone about that book. It survived by pure historical accident. That is the difference between reputation and character. Reputation is what the crowd thinks you are. Character is who you are when you are completely alone in an empty room with your own thoughts. If you only execute your habits when people are watching, or when you are getting paid, or when you can post about it, you are not a Stoic. You are an actor looking for a script. But when you build your values quietly, when you choose integrity when a lie would make you millions, when you choose discipline when laziness would be completely comfortable, you develop a dangerous, undeniable weight. You don't have to announce that you walk with authority. People can feel the bedrock under your boots before you even open your mouth. You have spent the last few years of your life teaching the people around you that they have your permission to underestimate you. You handed them that license with every nervous apology, every broken promise to yourself, and your constant, exhausting need to make everyone else comfortable at the expense of your own dignity. But a lesson can be untaught. A curriculum can be completely rewritten. Starting today, you stop performing worth for the crowd. You build it in the dark, quietly, painfully, safely. If this message reached a place in your mind that was tired of playing small, do not write a massive paragraph in the comments. Do not explain yourself to strangers. Leave one single word in the comment section below. Stone. Let it be an unspoken, unbreakable contract between who you are right now and who you are choosing to become. Subscribe to Stoic Power Coded if you are ready to stop drifting through life and start commanding it. Walk steady. Build in silence. Let the reality of your actions speak for you.